Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to season 4, episode 1 of the Hot Girl Guide podcast. My name is Rebecca. I am so happy to be back. I am so happy to be here today. I am overwhelmed by the love this podcast has gotten and the growth this podcast has had while we've been on a season break, because the last episode of this podcast was in May, and recording this right now, it's the 30th of October, and we have reached over 102 countries worldwide. We have listeners in over 102 countries, 90% women identifying, and I am just overwhelmed by it all, but also so excited because I love this podcast. One thing about me is I love being a hype girl. I love hyping people up. I love helping people with their confidence and their mindset. And it just comes very naturally to me. A lot of these topics, I just talk and the words come out. I don't know where they come from, but I just know they come from the soul. They come from somewhere deep inside me that is just put on this earth to hype you up. I don't know. But in saying that, I just want to say I'm grateful to everyone who is following on Spotify. We've thousands of followers on Spotify and Apple and YouTube. And it's just wild to me. And I'm so excited. And I've been meaning to bring this podcast back for so long now. And I think now is the perfect time. Timing is everything. We just finished an eclipse. And I'm excited for season 4. And I think season 4 of this podcast is going to be better than ever. I'm ready to be back podcasting via the Hot Girl Guide. And I'm excited for all of the topics that we're about to cover in the following weeks. And just for everything. So thank you so much for the love on this podcast. Honestly, I'm here, I'm ready. And today we are talking about a topic that I am so incredibly passionate about, and that is why having your life together by a certain age is bullshit. You heard me say it. I'm going to say it again. The idea of having everything together, your life figured out, knowing what you're doing, where you're going by a certain age in life is complete and utter bullshit. And it is a mindset that keeps you stuck in life. It keeps you so stuck in life. I just want to talk about it because it's such BS. It is such bullshit. And I was going to title this something about, being in your late 20s and having it all figured out by your late 20s. But then I'm like, some people are 23, 24 feeling this pressure. Some people are 32, 33 feeling this pressure. Some people are 40, some people are 18, and they all feel this immense amount of pressure to know exactly what they're doing, exactly where they're going. They feel like they need to have a plan. They feel like when people ask them, like, what are you doing now? What's your plan? That they need to have this life all figured out. And let me tell you a secret. You don't have it all figured out. Have you ever looked at interviews from people who you deem to have it all figured out? They don't have it figured out either. I think the biggest secret is like no one has it figured out. And I should have saved the secret for the end of the episode, but we're starting with it. Spoiler alert. No one has it all figured out. Even the people you think have it all figured out don't have it all figured out, or think that they're not doing good enough, or will be thrown a curveball at any stage in life. Like, you can be thrown a curveball at any stage in life. You can look at your life for the next 5 years and be like, okay, this is how I want it, exactly how to look. This is the job I want. This is the type of person I want to be with. This is the relationship I want. This is where I want to live. This is the house I want. This is where I want to travel. This is what I want to do. And you could be working on that. And then mid that plan, you could literally have a brainwave and be like, wait, I kind of want to travel the world. And you have this intrusive thought, right, of like, I want to travel the world, or I want to change my job, or I want to blank, or I don't want to date right now, I want to be single, or I feel like I'm just dating to find a person to like fit, but I'm actually not trying to meet a person that I'm like meant to be with. Do you know, that kind of way? So you can be thrown this curveball and it can change everything for you. But if you're so fixed on this life that you think you want because that life will make you feel like you have it all figured out, you can ignore your gut feeling, you can ignore your intuition because you think you should stay on this certain path. And then 10 years later, you're filled with regret because you're like, I have this life now, I have it all figured out, but I didn't do what I actually wanted to do. So it's a very intense topic that we're talking about today, but you know me, I'm going to throw in a few jokes. It's not that deep, it's not that serious. Even though I'm hyping you up and even though I'm giving you this advice, first of all, I don't have it all figured out. I don't know, is that obvious? I don't know, is that apparent? I don't have it all figured out, but also I don't think anyone ever does or anyone ever will. Like it's not something I'm striving for. Like having it all figured out, having the perfect life and the perfect house and the perfect job and the perfect relationship and the perfect everything is not something I'm striving for because it does not exist. Okay? And one of the reasons that having your life all figured out by a certain age is bullshit is because when you're doing that, right, when you're thinking of, okay, all these people who are this age have it all figured out, so when I get to this age, I need to have it all figured out, you're comparing your life, your journey, your wants, your needs, your goals, your desires to someone else's. Someone else who grew up in totally different circumstances, who has totally different wants, totally different needs, totally different desires. They are a completely different human to you. And I think as humans, a lot of the times we forget how unique we are and how unique our wants and goals and desires are, and how, I'm going to get a little bit spiritual here, how we all chose a lesson to learn in this lifetime, people to meet in this lifetime, goals to achieve in this lifetime, challenges to go through. Like we chose all of this before we came into this earth, or at least they're my opinions. You don't have to believe them, but hear me out for a second. In my opinion, we chose everything because our soul has a lesson to learn. So if you are prioritizing your soul's lesson that you're here to learn, you're not going to look at anyone else's life being like, I wish I had that. That person knows what they're doing. That person has this job. That person has this career. That person has this house. That person has this relationship. That person has this situation that I'd only love. When you're comparing, number one, you're not in the present moment because you're looking at other people. And number two, you're self-sabotaging. Like you're stressing yourself out by comparing your life and your situation to other people. You're just stressing yourself out because it's like, instead of looking at all these other people who you deem to have it all figured out, because one thing I always say on this podcast is you never know what anyone's thinking, like in their deep, deep thoughts, in their deep, deep brain. Because I don't know about you, but me, I have some thoughts that people would never know. I have some thoughts, I have some feelings, I have some opinions that stay in my brain. A lot of my thoughts, feelings and opinions do come out. You know, it's the Aries Mercury in me. But what I'm trying to say is you never know what anyone's thinking. So if you're looking at someone and you're like, yeah, they have it all figured out. Yeah, they have their life together. They might be looking at you and be like, they have it all figured out. I know nothing. So when you're caught in this like comparison of it all, you're really just comparing yourself to a projection of who you think someone is, which is crazy. Like you're not even comparing yourself to that person. You're comparing yourself to the idea of that person that you think they are, but they mightn't even be that person. So it's actually a waste of time. The second thing is timelines are complete and utter bullshit. And I have so many feelings on this. Number one, the generation before us, our parents' generation, like if you just think about how different the world was 30 years ago, like no internet, no social media, no podcasts, no like ebooks, audiobooks. Like when you think of the like traveling was so hard, no easy, accessible flights, no, everyone going traveling. Like, when you think of how different the world is, if you just sit back and you deep it for a second, how different the world your parents grew up in is compared to the world you live in now is. But then a lot of us are basing our timeline on our parents' timeline, whether that's coming from pressure from your parents or whether that's coming from you just putting that pressure on yourself, being like, well, my mom had 5 kids by now, or my mom was married by now, or my parents were this, or my parents had a house, or my parents had this job that they stayed in for 20 years or 20 plus years, so I should stay in my job long. And it's like, when you actually think about it, the world's not the same as it was then. So why on earth would you be following a timeline from 30 that was normal 30 years ago? Do you know what I mean? Like, why would you be putting pressure on yourself to stick to a timeline of a completely different world? You may as well be sticking to a timeline that they stick to on Mars. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how different the world is now to the way the world was of our parents' generation. And not even our parents' generation, like the generation above me, the boomers, like the milestones that they had at certain ages, the timelines that they were on are just completely and utterly different. If I look at my friend group, and me and my friends say it all the time, I'm 29. I'm the oldest actually of my friend group. So I get to turn 31st. Anyway, look at me always turning things into a pot. I'm actually so excited to be 30. I'm so excited to enter my 30s. Like, for so many reasons. So many reasons. I was going to say one reason, but I was like, Rebecca, this is not that podcast. Anyways, me and my friends are all turning 30 next year. And we all kind of are like, we don't feel like we're turning 30 because we think in our brains, because it's been so ingrained since we've been young girls, especially as women. If you identify as a woman, there's a certain life and certain milestones that you thought you would have by a certain age, or at least I did. Like, I used to always say, I remember I used to say to my friend, like, okay, I need to meet the love of my life by the time I'm 25. So then we can be like engaged we can be engaged by the time we're like 27. So then like I can be married maybe 28, 29, and then like maybe have a child at 30. And I think back to my younger self who was so gung-ho on like, this is what I need to do. And I'm like, girl, what if you meet someone who you think is the love of your life at 25 and next thing at 27 you're like, oh no, you know? And some people are so fixed on these timelines that they would rather stay in a familiar hell than go in search of an unfamiliar heaven. Do you know what I mean? Like, some people are so fixed on, I need to be married and have a house and have kids at these certain ages. So they'll make anyone work. They'll try to fit a square into a circle when it comes to relationships and dating and their life and their career, because they see life as this ticking time bomb. And it's like, do you not realize how young you are? Your brain is only fully developed after age 25. I think it's age 27 really. And it's probably actually even older now because we're the generation that lived through 2020. Do you know what I mean? So I missed my entire mid-20s. So all of that time when my brain was supposed to be developing, I was not doing that. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, how can you even, you can't even conceptualize how young you are right now. I don't care what age you are. Why do people write off life? Why do people be like, okay, by the time I'm this age, I'll be doing this, and this age, I'll be doing this? You don't know how you're going to feel. Like, some people are like, oh, I want to retire at like age 50 because I'm going to be so tired. And it's like, 50 is so young. Some people only start their lives, start their careers at 50. I was with my granddad the other day. He is 86. His life motto is KLS, keep life simple. He still works. He drives up and down the country like multiple times a week. And he's like, he was talking about writing this book titled Keep Life Simple, like KLS. And he was like, yeah, but I don't have the time right now. Like, I'm so busy. He was like, maybe I'll do it in a few years. Like, he was like, right now I'm busy with work. Like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And it's like so many of us who are in our 20s think of being in our 80s, and I'm not being ageist here, but like so many of us who are in our 20s or in our 30s or in our late teens or 40s or 50s or 60s think about our 80s and think like, we almost like write it off in a way, or we almost like think, yeah, like, you know, I'll be retired and I don't know what I'll be doing. And I look at my granddad's life and the life he lives at age 86, and I'm like, I'm so young. Like, I have so much life to go through. I have so many decisions to make. I have so many challenges to go through. I have so many wins. I have so many people that I'm yet to meet. I have so many experiences that I've yet to have. But yet I could get stuck in a spiral being like, oh my God, I'm 29 now. What am I doing? Where am I living? I'm living in my parents' house. You know, I came here 2 years ago and I wanted to leave 3 months later, but then life happened and situations happened and I'm still here. And now I want to move away, but like, where do I want to live? And maybe the next place that I have to pick has to be the perfect place. And what if it's not the perfect place? And what if I move somewhere and make an accident and don't like it? Or what if I make this decision? And it's like, girl, you could spend the next 10 years of your life moving somewhere, deciding it's not good, moving somewhere else, deciding it's not good, having this relationship, not wanting it. And you're still only 39. You're still only 39. It's so young. We're all so young. I don't care what, like, age is a mindset. And the younger you feel, the younger your brain is. Like, it's literally science. It's literally like quantum physics. I don't know, is quantum physics the right words, but it's literally like what you think is your reality. And the more you think, oh my God, I'm so young, I have so much time. Like, why am I stressed about this? Why am I stressed about finding the perfect blank, the perfect job, the perfect relationship, the perfect house, the perfect place to live? Why am I stressing about all of this when it's all going to happen anyway? It's all written anyway. And the more you live in the present and appreciate every single day and do what you want to do in the day to day and do what you're drawn to. If you're living in the present, right? And you're at your job and you're really living in the present and you have a realization of like, I don't like this. This doesn't make me happy. It stresses me out. Blank, 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 whatever, fill in the blanks. If you're living in the present, you'll be like, okay, what can I do to change this? Can I move to a different company? Can I get a different working situation? Do I want to change my career? What other skills do I have? How do I put the steps forward? Because I've realized I don't like my job now. So by staying in it, I'm doing a disservice to myself. So if you take a step back and you're like, okay, present moment, write out a list. What can I do? What are my skills? Can I switch companies? Like, maybe if I switch companies, it won't be a bit better, but maybe I'll be on more money, or maybe the work-life balance of it all will be better, or maybe, you know, it's just a step that I need to take to put myself out of my comfort zone. If you're living in the present, that's what you're going to do when you have that type of realization, whether it's about your job or your relationship or your living situation or whatever. Whereas if you're living in the hypothetical future of it all, of like, okay, I'm 29, so I don't care if I hate my job. I'm too old now. I can't go back to school. I can't learn a new skill. I can't this, I can't that, I can't that, I can't that, because I need to be married by the time I'm 35 and I need to have a house. So if I go messing with my career, that's just going to put my timeline off. And I'm laughing because I'm like, when you say it out loud, it sounds so insane. But so many of us get stuck in it, of that mindset of it's too late. It's too late to do something new. It's too late to learn something new. It's too late to go traveling. You know, maybe you missed a certain part of your 20s during the pandemic where you thought you were going to travel and you got caught in a job, and now you're in your later 20s, your early 30s, and you're like, I'd really love to just travel for a little bit and, you know, maybe sell my belongings and just throw caution to the wind and go traveling for a while and figure it out if you have the privilege to do that. But you're like, no, I can't because my timeline. But it's like, you do realize you're going to stick to this timeline, and then future you is going to look back at you now and be like, you were so young. Why didn't you do it? Why didn't you do it? It is so important to live in the present moment, because when we're living in the present moment, we're not thinking about the potential future. We're not thinking about the past of all the things we could have done and all the decisions we could have made to lead us somewhere else. We're not thinking about the, oh, if I do this, what if this happens? Because I don't know if any of us realize, and I think we all need reminding sometimes, this potential future that you think you're going to have, this way you think your life is going to pan out, is not guaranteed. And I think the best way to put this in perspective is at the start of 2020, we all rang in the new year. We all had plans for 2020. We all thought we were going to do this, we were going to do that, we were going to do the other. And then one day, everything changed and no one could leave their houses. And if you told New Year's Eve 2020 me what was going to happen, like, I was planning on moving back to Australia New Year's Eve 2020. Like that, I was planning on moving back on a student visa with my ex. Like, that's what we were planning in 2020. If you told New Year's Eve me, no, you're actually not going to do that because Australia is going to be closed, and Australia is going to be closed for like a year and a half. You're not going back to Australia anytime soon. And then even when you do think you're going back to Australia, you're actually going to go to Dubai first, and then you're going to live in Brazil, and then you're going to have a breakup, and then you're actually going to live at home for 2 years, and you're then going to decide, actually, I don't know, do I want to go back to Australia? If you told New Year's Eve 2020 me that, she would have been like, no, you're wrong. Because we think we can predict the future, and that's what keeps us safe. That's, our brain likes that. Our brain likes thinking that it knows what's going to happen. But you actually never know what's going to happen. And that's how I try to live. Like, I'm very much so, I was saying to my friend the other day, I'm very much so, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm very much so living in the moment of like, yeah, maybe I could do this. Maybe I could move here. Maybe I could get this opportunity. Maybe I could meet this person and then want to do something else. I'm so open to any and all opportunities that come into my life. People, places, things, situations. I'm so open because I'm like, you never know what's going to happen anyway. So why would you try and predict? Like, I'm very much so, just go with the flow, live in the moment. If I'm doing something in the moment that I enjoy, if I'm in a situation that I enjoy, that's amazing. And I don't need to think of what if in a week, what if in a month, what if in 3 months, because the what if in a week, month, and 3 months that I'm thinking about might not even happen anyway, and probably won't. Like, the things you're worrying about, like, when you're worrying about something, your brain can't decipher between the real thing happening and the thing you're worrying about. So when you're worrying about something, your brain perceives as if it's already happening. Do you know how terrifying that is, but also how powerful that is? So the next time you're worrying about something, of course, sometimes life is insanely stressful, and sometimes you cannot help but worry about something because it is so prevalent in your life. And I'm not saying, you know, if you have massive life situations that you are worrying about, of course you can worry about them. I'm not saying don't feel emotions, but what I'm saying is the next time you're worrying about something minuscule or something maybe happening or something maybe not happening, think of my voice in your head being like, you do realize by worrying about this right now, your brain thinks it's happening. So it's actually happening twice, because you're worrying about it happening, so your brain is experiencing it as if it's already happening. And then if it happens, your brain's going to experience it again. But even if it doesn't happen, your brain is acting as if it did happen because you're worrying about it so much. The next reason why having your life together by a certain age is bullshit is because it encourages floating through life. It encourages the thought process of, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing to go where I'm supposed to go. So all my wants, needs, and desires actually don't matter because I'm following this certain timeline. I'm floating through life. I think a lot of us float through life. I floated through life, definitely during the summer. Like, I just wasn't present in the what's happening of it all, and in the, I can make my own decisions and I can change my situation. And I was very much so floating, being like, I don't know what I want to do next. I don't know where I want to go next. I don't know. And it wasn't until a certain thing happened in September that was the catalyst to me being like, hold on a second, girl. You have been putting off making decisions. You have been putting off putting yourself first. You have been putting off all of these things because you just didn't want to think about it, because you chose the easier route of floating. But it's not actually easier, because when you're floating through life and you're not thinking on a day-to-day of like, am I doing what I want? Am I happy right now? Is this situation making me happy? Is this person making me happy? And you're just going through the motions. Like this isn't a dress rehearsal, by the way. This is the life that you're living right now. It doesn't matter if you believe in past lives and a future life and death and rebirth and whatever. The moment you're present in right now is the life that you're living. And you have control. You have so much more control than you think. You're the only person that has control. We give control to all these outside things and factors and people and places, but you actually have the control to be like, hold on a second, actually I don't like this. Hold on a second, actually I amn't happy. Hold on a second, actually maybe I want to learn this skill. Like I was thinking the other day, I was like, oh my God, I'd actually love to learn guitar. Like it's always something I've wanted to learn. I think it would be cool to be good at guitar. And I'm like, oh, I wish I learned guitar when I was younger. And I was like, girl, you're 29. Like you can always pick up a new skill. It's never too late to do something unless you deem it too late to do something. And you can apply that to learning the guitar, learning a new language, moving to a completely different side of the world, changing your job, changing your living situation, leaving a relationship, starting a new relationship. You are in control of that. You can do that at any time. And the more obstacles you put in your way, the more obstacles that will be in your way. Of course, in life, sometimes there are obstacles. But find someone to be inspired by that had similar obstacles to you and overcame them and is living the life that you want to live, and get inspired by them. Use them as your muse. There is going to be someone who looks like you, who maybe had a similar upbringing to you, who maybe had a similar hardship to you or situation to you, that is doing the thing you want. And they're probably not even as good as you are at it. There are people with blind confidence. You know me, bring confidence into everything. There are people with blind confidence, living the life you want to live, doing the things, taking the risks. They're not any better than you. They're not more intelligent. They're not better looking. They're not fill in the blank. They just are going for it, and they're not putting as many obstacles in their way as you are right now. And I think that's enough to know. You know, there's a version of you that has everything you want. There is a version of you who achieves everything you desire. And the only person in the way of you and that version of you is you. Is that not crazy? So I think the main thing to always remember when it comes to, you know, getting stuck in a thought process of thinking, I should be living a certain way, I should be doing a certain thing, I should be on a certain timeline, is balance. Because at the end of the day, not everyone has the gall and the gumption and the throw caution to the wind of it all as people with a lot of fire in their birth chart. You know me, I have to bring in astrology. My birth chart is 50-50 split, almost, earth and fire. So I have the balance, right? I have the groundedness, but I also have the whole, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to think about it later. I'm going to go here. I'm going to get on this flight. I'm going to change this job. I'm going to move across the world. I'm going to start this relationship, whatever it is. I have that, and I know I am blessed to have that, and that's why I have this podcast, because if I can inspire one person to just be like, do you know what, I'm terrified. I am absolutely terrified, but I know there is a voice within me telling me to do something, or telling me to take a chance, or telling me to quit my job, or telling me to change my living situation, or telling me to go after that person or that relationship or whatever. And I'm not going to think about it too much, because I think sometimes we all think a little bit too much about things, and we all make some things a lot more serious than they need to be. And sometimes you just need to not think. And I'm giving you the permission today to not think and just be led by divine intuition and be led by that gut feeling and be like, listen, I don't know how it's going to work. I don't need to know how it's going to work. The only thing I need to know right now is that I have this undeniable feeling or thought that I need change or that I need to do something. No one is going to arrive at your front door, put out their hand and be like, hey, I'm going to hold your hand and we're going to walk through this big scary life decision change together. No one's going to do that. So if you've been waiting for that, that's not going to happen. I'm the closest thing to that. I'm the closest thing you're going to get to someone literally arriving on your doorstep and being like, hey, let's do this together. I'll take care of you. It's going to be okay. You actually just have to do it, and you actually just have to do it terrified. And I've done a lot of things terrified. I did something in September, and I don't want to go into what I did, but I did something in September that was completely something I had never done before. It was so out of my comfort zone. Only a few people in my life actually know about the thing anyway. And I did it. And I got, how do I explain this without explaining it? I did the thing. And there was a person involved in the thing that I was doing. And I literally turned to the person and I was like, you do realize I would not be right here right now in this situation if I thought too much about doing this situation. I was like, I didn't think too much about the fact that I'm doing this. I just knew, I just had a gut feeling that I was meant to do it. And I think although that situation maybe didn't turn out the way I thought it would, it was definitely a catalyst for where I am now and for where my life is leading to now. And if I did not do that thing in September, like, it wouldn't have led me to where I am right this second. And you can call that the butterfly effect, you can call that whatever you want, but all I'm saying is I'm giving you the permission to throw away the feeling of needing to have it all together by a certain age, and to throw away the feeling of a certain timeline that you think you should be on. Of course you should have goals, of course you should have wants, of course you should have needs and desires, but a lot of times you're going off the goals, needs and desires of your parents or of people before you or of you 10 years ago. And you 10 years ago and you today are two different people. So why are you trying to go off the timeline and the goals and the desires you thought you wanted 10 years ago, as opposed to going off the ones you know you want now? Okay, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to follow. I want to know what your favorite piece of advice that I gave or your favorite random sentence that I said in this podcast was. So I'll leave a little question box on Spotify. There'll be a poll, everything. And yeah, every single Monday, you're going to be seeing me, the Hot Girl Guide podcast, or you're going to be listening to me. I bought a new wire for my mic, so making sure the audio is nice and crisp and clear. And yeah, I'm so happy to be back. I really hope this episode inspired you in some way today. And all I care about is if it helps one person. And even if that's one person is me sometimes, that's enough. So yeah, thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.